Jai Hind, gentlemen. I'm General Sengar, and today I'm with you to introduce my book, which I had written 2 years back. And here it is. It is titled The Be No Do of Generalship. Now, a lot has happened since I wrote this book 2 years ago. First, let's have a look at a historical context. Genghis Khan, who carved out one of the largest empires in the history of the world, was so successful, amongst other reasons, for one reason, that he chose the best generals irrespective of their caste, creed, lineage, or their upbringing. And that made his army effective. Let's come closer in time. In the World War I, in the Battle of Somme in 1916, 30,000 soldiers on both sides died on day one of the battle. And in that battle, famous Field Marshal Montgomery, who was a captain then, he got injured. And when he was recovering in the hospital, he thought over that battle and he came to a conclusion that the generals of that time, who were known as fighting generals, were not competent to lead the armies. And he learned that the general has to know a lot before he can actually lead into battle. So he devoted his life to reading and improving his knowledge, to the extent that he delayed his marriage till he became 40 years old. Now, in India, there is a perception, and not entirely wrong, that with this pro rata promotion system that we have, you have Mendelized promotions. And if you see, ever since I joined the army in 1979, how many non-infantry chiefs have we had? And if you actually count them, you'll realize that there is something more than what meets the eye. Now, let's see in the Indian context, the last two skirmishes that we had. In 2020, we had Galwan. And what was Galwan fought with? By an adversary, China, which is one of the most technologically advanced country in the world, which can strike any part of the globe with its missiles, systems, precision weapons, surprised us by fighting us with batons which were covered in barbed wire. They were not even medieval, they were ancient weapons. 5 years later, a couple of months back, we had Operation Sindoor. And what was that fought with? That was fought with drones. What is the next skirmish between India and our adversaries going to be fought with? Do we understand that? Do we realize that? That is the requirement of generalship. And that is what I'm going to talk about. What this book of mine actually tells you, the budding generals, right from the rank of colonel and upwards, of what you need to do to be effective generals so that you can lead these men effectively in battle. And it is the right of every soldier and officer to demand that he be led by competent officers above him. There are two things about the army. You do courses, you do higher command, you do all this. But these courses only train you. They do not educate you. What does training does? Training enables you fighting today. And what does education do? Education trains you to think for the future. And there's a big difference. You can train today, but unless you think for the future, you'll be not ready for the next war. And it is so often said that the army is trained to fight the last war and not the future war. Were we ready for hundreds of drone attacks by Pakistan? Well, I'm not so sure, but we need to think about it. Now, three aspects of generalship as it applies to any level of leadership. It is about the be of generalship, the know of generalship, and do. Be, know, do of generalship. That is the title of this book. B is about the character of the man. The foundation is integrity. And that does not change irrespective of your rank. If you're a captain, platoon commander, or you're an army commander, the B part of your leadership remains the same. The requirements change a little bit. The know deals with competence, and that is contextual to your position that you're holding. And not just that, it is contextual to the assignment that you're holding. You may be a good divisional commander, but you may be quite a useless guy if you get posted in the tri-service headquarters and if you've not equipped yourself to deal with higher level of bureaucracy and diplomacy. And the next, of course, is do. do is when you put your competence and your knowledge together. Now, when it comes to training and education, as I said, Army can train you. Higher command can tell you how to fight today's war with some idea of what the future will be today. But to educate yourself to be ready yourself personally and to make sure that the formation that you command is future ready, it's a personal endeavor, and you'll have to work on it more between what lies between these 2 ears than what you do with your hands. You hear very often, and I know where my battalion was posted, every second day the div commander would have a 3 hours long teleconference with the COs in attendance, and the best part of the day was gone. When I was Colonel GS in a corps, a division commander was counseled by the corps commander because he used to hold 8-hour long conferences in which the COs used to be attending. Why does that happen? That happens because a brigade commander has become a div commander, but intellectually he has not upgraded himself to become a div commander. Therefore, he feels comfortable in doing what is the brigade commander's job, and similarly the brigade commander is comfortable doing what is commanding officer's job, because they have not upgraded themselves in keeping with the requirements of their assignment. Now, this book, it is over 7 chapters. This deals with every aspect of what an officer needs to prepare himself if he wants to be an effective general. If you are in the Pole headquarters, if you need to project your requirements to Prime Minister, for example, you should be able to do that in 3 sentences. He has no more time. He's an intelligent man, and in 3 sentences is all that you should be able to do it. You have to know that if you need certain things for your organization, and that's your responsibility, irrespective of the bureaucratic and political friction that you might face, it's the business of the generalship to make sure that the army gets what it needs to fight a war, and that it is your responsibility that your army does not fight an unequal war. We fought an unequal war in 1962. You know what happened. The leadership failed to do something. The same thing did not happen in 71 when we saw the result. Right? So this book has got 7 chapters, and a whole lot of details are there. It's more like a workbook. It'll tell you that when you become from div commander to a corps commander, what you need to do. I was Colonel GS, Colonel in 2008. I became a div commander by the end of 2012. In 4 years from Colonel, I was a div commander. And a lot of people from div commander in 4 years would become an army commander. Where is the institutional ecosystem which trains you to grow from a colonel to a major general in 4 years? Similarly, from major general to an army commander. In between, you may tenant appointments that might give you an exposure. It's quite possible you might have appointments which may teach you nothing as far as it is your command of an army or a higher assignment that you're going to take. If you get posted, I was posted as a brigadier commander at a sector in the Rashtriya Rifles. Thereafter, of course, I was deputy GOC, raised a division, and then I was posted in NCC. So if I'm posted in NCC, NCC is not training me to be a divisional commander. And that is why I emphasize that to train, army can train you, but to educate yourself is your endeavor. That's your responsibility to your command, that you're competent, that these men feel safe under your command. Then there's a second thing. I've written another book. You may have heard about this. This is titled Maverick Leadership, Embracing the Power of Constructive Disobedience. I'll talk about this book later in a separate video, because it's equally important for generals at that level to be able to say no when the situation and the demands demand. And just I'll give you an example that if today Nathula Pass in Sikkim is with you, it is because General Sagat Singh, who was the div commander of 17 Div, had the courage and the intellectual wisdom to disobey a lawful order. In the neighboring division, pass which was there, the div commander obeyed a lawful order and we lost that pass. But I'll talk about this book separately. Now, this book of mine, I would recommend who needs to read this. Really speaking, the preparation for generalship does not happen when your board results come. If you want to be a good general, you have to start preparing yourself intellectually and from the leadership perspective right from the time you're a colonel, because it'll take you 12 or 15 years to become a good general intellectually. And this book must be read by people after commanding their battalions and thereafter till all the ranks, because in any case, if you have not prepared yourself to be a general, this book will help you, will guide you, will ask you questions that if you answer, it will put you in the right direction. So this book is available with notionpress.com, who's my publisher. It is also available with the Amazon. And get hold of this book and read. I'm not making this video to make money. I've written 9 books. You don't make much money if you write these kind of books. It is just that I want to share my 40 years experience and hope that you can hit the ground running when you assume your appointment, and that you don't start learning and reinventing the wheel. So get hold of this book, read, and it is my assurance to you that you'll be a better leader. Thank you very much. Long live Indian Army. Jai Hind.